My name's Jack. I'm from St. Thomas. I'm local, Canadian-born. I don't have any Ukrainian blood, but when the invasion happened, I started, like I assume a lot of other Westerners did, by watching from the TV, watching from my phone, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, watching something I was very disconnected from, right? Something that, because it's images, it's thermal footage, it's drones, it's not real. But then I made friends with a friend, another Canadian named Brandon, who served in the Canadian Forces, and when the war started, he left his job and his family, his dog, his girlfriend, everything behind in Sweden, and went to Ukraine to join the Hospitalers. And on day 46 of the war, he started an Instagram page because he was looking for help. He needed tourniquets, which is a common thing we've all heard a million times, for his unit to bring to soldiers to help them do their job. Because when they evacuate a soldier, the tourniquet either gets thrown out because it breaks, it's too dirty, or they have to wash it, and that takes time. And Brandon and I started communicating through our personal Instagrams because he sent a voice message. He did something very unique, just that extra step. He sent a voice message personalized to every single person that followed him, which caused us all to buy in. And for me, I bought in deeper than just a donation. I asked him, how can I help you? So I started ForceX Canada, which was supposed to just be a merch brand where I would sell shirts, hats, stickers, mugs, whatever we could slap a logo on to make a couple bucks to buy him a tourniquet, we would do that. And then that snowballed into running an OSINT page, which stands for Open Source Intelligence, where I would translate combat footage, news updates, all sorts of information from Ukraine from over 150 Telegram channels from Ukrainian and Russian into English, and then push them out on Instagram. Through that and Brandon's cooperation, he developed a following of about 20,000 people. I'm sitting around 3,000. My best friend Oleg's got a few thousand, and we all tap into our own personal communities. Thanks to those folks, I was offered an absolutely incredible experience to go over to Ukraine last September and assist. So I flew over September 14th, touchdown, got brought over by a small Polish group that actually, our previous speaker, I doubt they're the same group, but they rang a lot of bells, which was just normal people, students that knew they needed to do something. So they hopped in vans, loaded them up, and drove into Kyiv. And when I met them, they'd done, I believe, 32 trips from Warsaw to, I'm forgetting the name. It's not Mariupol, but it's down towards that side of the country. And they drove me in from Poland, and then my friend Oleg, who I had met through Instagram, picked me up and we went down to Huliapola the next day, dropped off supplies, took a drive up to a town you might have all heard of named Bakhmut, and delivered a bunch of medical aid to a field hospital there that specialized in brain injuries. And then from there, we drove over to Kramatorsk and spent 4 days with the 81st Airborne Brigade, training, blowing stuff up, very fun Canadian experiences, the things I didn't necessarily expect to do my first week in country. And then we returned to Kyiv. And the wildest thing for me was going, obviously, full speed to the front and then the calming down. We're getting to meet all these people in this city who didn't want to leave. They wanted to stay and keep living some facet of a normal life. And they were so thankful, loving, and incredible to me for being there. When we returned to Biletsyrka, which is in Kyiv Oblast, we were going to the 72nd Brigade, which is a mechanized infantry brigade, to train them in tactics, tactical medicine, things they needed to know, as well as deliver medical devices. And right before we got there was when Biletsyrka was attacked by Shaheed drones. We blew tires on the way there to Biletsyrka, some pretty brutal roads, and we got picked up by a fellow named Pashtet, who belongs to a special forces unit, and he switched our tire for us and drove us to his friend's house at, I believe, 12:30 at night. His friend and his wife came out and they brought us in and told us that we had to come in for dinner. No, it was not an option. And I had quite possibly, sorry mom, but the best food I've had in my life. And then found out the lovely rule that apparently shots come in threes. I wasn't prepared for that. That was great. And And when we came back out, they told us that we had to wait. We were taking the tire back off, and they went to a shop in town and had them open it up and repair our tire, put the tire back on the car and said, all right, we're gonna drive you 3 hours to your destination. And so these two guys that found us on the side of the road with a flat tire drove us the next 3 hours through every single block post to build us where we could go train. So we met up at the 72nd, and we would go out east to the area of Pokrovsk, if some of you are familiar, and we worked out there for the next month, teaching tactics, tactical medicine, wound packing, those sorts of things to the 72nd Brigade, up until the point where they were mobilized to defend Vuhledar, which might be a name that's familiar to some of you. It is now the location of the largest tank battle in modern history. That was a battle fought directly by soldiers that we trained. That was a battle won with blood and lives of men that I knew. Incredible people. Some of the best people that this world has to offer are helping in Ukraine, fighting in Ukraine, and dying for Ukraine. And that is the biggest cause. Now, when I went with about $5,000 in medical goods and other supplies, and that helped. 50 tourniquets, 50 chest seals, 50 decompression needles, a bunch of other stuff. It helped a lot. But what we found when we trained the 72nd Brigade down at Pokrovsk was that there is a much higher return for dollar on training than there is on devices, right? A tourniquet can save, ideally, a life, whereas teaching someone to pack a wound saved well over 100 lives. The 2nd Battalion of the 72nd Brigade were the guys that we trained. They took 90% casualties. So 90% of the soldiers that we trained, that we spent a month with, went to position in Vuhledar and got injured. Right? They became a unit that was entirely combat ineffective in the span of a day. They had one dead. One guy. Because they spent the month prior learning how to save lives. So in June, I will be going back to join my friends Oleg from America, Felix from Australia, and another handful of folks that I can't name because they don't want to be named, and that is perfectly fine. It's by professionals and what we need. And we will be joining the 4th Rapid Response Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine and training them in the same things that we've been training everybody else. So hopefully we can put a couple more feathers in our cap of massive battles won where Russia gets their ass kicked and our guys come home safe. Thanks for your time, guys.